special presentation of Glass Cannon Radio. I'm Jared Logan, coming to you live from my mother-in-law's guest room. Still on the road.
Still on the road, man. You're like you're a real artist now. You just spend all your time on the road.
Yeah, a real artist spending a lot of time with his in-laws. Just walking downstairs to get a glass of water, Fox News blaring in the living room. By the time I walk back upstairs, I'm triggered. I'm shaking from what I've seen, the horror that I've seen on the TV. That's Joe O'Brien. He usually hosts the show too.
I do a lot of laughing at Jared. I'm a big Jared fan. I can't help it. Your style of humor is right up my alley.
You're my only fan, Joe.
I'm your biggest fan.
If you die, I'm all alone.
Well, tell them what we got going on here today.
We have a very special episode today. You might notice that this is not a live show right now. And that is
they might have thought it was live, but it's not. This is actually pre-recorded.
It's pre-recorded because right now, while you're watching this, Joe is getting a tummy tuck. He's having cosmetic surgery done on his torso. I told him I didn't think he needed it.
Long overdue.
Yeah, I told him I didn't think he needed it, but, he wants to feel pretty. So while Joe is getting his cosmetic surgery, we're bringing you a pre-recorded episode, but we wanted to make it special, okay? So the way we've made this special is we have a very special guest today. We're so excited to have this person on. Should I say who it is right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so there won't be any call-ins today, but I just want to remind everybody before we bring our guest out, join thenaish.com, become one of our subscribers, call into the show next week. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode. But right now, I'm going to show you.
It would be awesome to do like a little look back, wrap up, next week of the content from this week's show, and we can have everybody call in. So yeah, if you are watching this this pre-taped show live or on YouTube after it's recorded, no callers today. This is going to be a little bit different. No callers today.
Finally, we can have an intelligent conversation now that the callers have been eliminated. We're not going to have
angling for this for months, Jared.
We're not going to have anybody calling in going, "Hey guys," and we're like, "What did you think about the topic?" And they're like,
"What topic?
What you said." Yeah. Well, what you guys said. I don't know. I'm just hanging out. So this is why this is a very special episode. We were so happy that this person agreed to sit and talk with us. One of the creators, writers of my favorite game of the last 20 years, Blades in the Dark, as well as many other things. Please welcome Mr. John Harper, everybody. John Harper.
John! Hello.
What's up, John?
Hello. So good to be here. This is great.
Yeah.
Happy to chat with y'all.
Thanks for coming in all the way from Seattle, right? Is that where you're at?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
From the West
Beantown, they call it. Beantown.
famous Beantown.
The
Seattle,
Windy
Washington.
City.
Mm-hmm.
The Windy City. John, thanks so much for being here and taking the time. How's your life going right now? What'd you do today?
Things are good. I as I said before the show, I'm a night owl. So today I've so far gotten up and made a cup of coffee. And got my audio set up for this. So that's
for
what
everybody's reference. It is currently 6 p.m. So John is a vampire.
It's true. It is true. It's well documented. Yeah.
What do you do, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what do you do with your nights? What do you do in the middle of the night when no one else is around? I mean, do you go out? Do you stay up late and read, watch stuff? Work?
I work often. I get inspired sometimes, post midnight, the brain starts cooking sometimes, and I gotta go back to the computer and put ideas down, catch up on YouTube stuff, play video games, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
I spend my evenings with my partner, so we have our time blocked off. We're always together for dinner in the evening, and we hang out together and watch our shows and stuff. And usually I'm getting up later, so I don't have like a regular working day. So then after my time with Allison, I can come home and actually get stuff done if I need to. So
cool.
it's a good rhythm for me, and she's a more of a morning person, so that works out for both of us.
You're not the only writer I've talked to who does like a lot of their work like after 10 o'clock at night. I think also just in game designers, I think I've heard Ken Hite say that he works like at midnight. So interesting.
Yeah.
I'm an early bird. I get the worm. I'm a children force me awake.
Yeah, I'm a recovering night owl, John. I used to love staying up super late, and that would be the best time. Like you said, for video gaming and stuff like that, I would love that. And then these damn kids, man, their day starts so early, and you have no choice. Like you can't just be like, get yourself to school. Just take the car.
We asked John to talk to us today about kids. That's going to be our main topic.
I'm a real expert on that topic. Zero kids, really.
Zero kids. It's the way to go, John. You made the right decision.
I did. I definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we are pumped to get into a whole a deep dive in game design and gaming, and also just what you do for fun and that kind of stuff. I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to you. You and I met a few years ago on a call and just talking business. It was mostly business and creative potential stuff, around Haunted City when we were developing that project and stuff. And we haven't had a chance to talk much since. And it's certainly in that meeting, I didn't get to talk to you about, your passions and what you're super into and how you go about this work that I that I love so much and that I rave about all the time. Blades of the Dark is, as Jared said, when we first played it, he described it as the best role-playing game rule book written in the last 30 years, I think is the way he originally described it. And as I began to read it and dig into it, I truly agreed. And so it's an honor to speak with you.
I don't even know why I'm qualifying
it
with the number of years. What am I comparing it to? The 1975 Dungeons and Dragons initial basic set? I have no idea.
I don't know. You kept saying that, and it
whenever
just stuck
you
in
say
my
that,
head.
I'm like, I wonder what it is. What am I competing with in Jared's mind? This like
there was something in '94
sorry, John,
that came out.
Tecumel.
Damn.
That ranks a little higher in my estimation. The Petal Throne.
Tecumel. Mar Barker, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into what's been up recently. You just released deep cuts for Blades in the Dark. We're going to be talking a lot about Blades because we're big Blades fanboys. So you just released deep cuts for Blades in the Dark. It's an entire book full of extra stuff or different ways to play the game. What inspired you, or what made you decide to do a whole new book? Were the fans all like, give us more, or was there stuff in the original book that you didn't get to put in there, or what spawned this project?
It was kind of an accumulation of stuff over the years, in running Blades for so long after it was published. It's just sort of a natural consequence. I know you've done this too, Jared. Where you start to kind of customize the game. You start to shave it the way you want it to be and sort of tweak and change. And I put a chapter in the book about changing the game and how to hack it and how to modify systems. And over the years watching AP, I've seen some shows that really shy away from that and kind of, they're always like, we don't really like healing, but it's annoying us, but we're just going to keep doing it anyway. And or frustrations or areas they want to explore that the game doesn't support out of the box, maybe.
Right.
And can I just say real quick, with no judgment on the mechanics at all, because I really don't know, and I certainly don't have enough of a sample size. Healing is brutal in Blades in the Dark, and as written
in the original core book.
Yes, but it creates really interesting narratives where people are like, when you get hurt, it's like, well, you can't go on a score for like a while. You got to make another character, and that to me, that element was fun. It didn't feel like a bug, right? Like
it leads to Ross Bryant playing 9 characters.
Exactly. But
that is kind of the point of it. Yeah. But I when I would see a show like that, I would kind of be yelling at the screen a little, like, "Come on, it's okay. You can change it. You can tweak it. It's okay." And in setting up for my next Blades campaign, I got my documents out and was combing through stuff from pre-publication, from playtesting the original version of the game to the last campaign I ran, and just looked at this set of stuff. And I was like, I have a bunch of stuff here. I've got new factions. I've got new lore stuff, new technology things, system tweaks, all this stuff. And some of these things would help these people in their home games, either just as a simple fix for what they're doing, or as yet another kind of reminder to say, it's okay. This game is supposed to be changed. It's supposed to be hacked. It's supposed to be customized for your table. And so, yeah, that's once that clicked in my head and I looked at the material, I was like, this is actually like a book's worth of stuff. And I put it together as a digital product that was intended just to be that. And Evil Hat, of course, immediately knocked on my door and was like, "Hey, don't you want to make this into a book?" So we moved ahead with that and did the backer kit funding for it, and now the files are getting finalized for the printer and all that. And through backer kit, we got to add fun things. I'm designing a whole deck of cards that are like themed Blades in the Dark playing cards.
Cool.
As an add-on, which I've always wanted to do, to design like card suits and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my favorite thing in the new book is the whole kind of, it's like I guess I'd call it a campaign frame where there are people invading from another reality. And you even say you can play as those people. Like you could play people from our world that have landed in Duskfall. Yeah. I mean, where did that whole idea come from? And have you run a game like that, or?
Yeah, that's where it came from. I had a group of players that wanted to, instead of starting out as people from the setting of Blades in the Dark and kind of needing to ramp up or feel like they were a little nervous about like, well, we don't know about the world yet. Like, sure. I don't know if we're going to get it right. And I'm like, it's fine. It's basically just like Victorian, Europe. Don't worry about it. But they were worried about it. So they said, can't we be like, I don't know, occultists that have found a portal or something, and we can just be from our world and we'll discover all this stuff in the setting as our characters are discovering it. So we played a short series like that, and that was fun. And then I did another thing that kind of had to do with kind of the demonic part of the Blade setting. Where do demons come from? What's their deal? What are they trying to do in the world? And of course, that ultimately led to like a portal to a demon realm. And the group was like, of course, we're going in there. What's on the other side of that?
Right.
So
it's a very Abu Salim decision.
Oh, yeah.
It's like to immediately march into the demon realm.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a mix of things. It's things that have come out of my own games, things I've seen people experiment with in their live shows and AP shows and stuff. And then just kind of my own, like, once I got into writing the thing, that spawned new ideas too, and even more stuff. So
yeah, I'm ready to run it again. I got to be honest, because there's all this new material, and I'm like, oh, I could do something completely different that is still Blades in the Dark. So
yeah, cool. You were on my mind for sure. Haunted. You guys know I'm a big Haunted City fan, and I'm actually watching it again all the way through as one of my night owl things. I'll have Haunted City on while I'm working.
Awesome.
It's fun. It's fun to go revisit some of those things and see those moments that turn into something down the line that is so big and important. And it's just this little side comment at the beginning. Someone makes a very innocuous decision that is going to pay off. And that's something I love about games like Blades that take the storytelling, the group process of storytelling pretty seriously, and everyone is kind of in it together and no one's in charge of the campaign, so to speak.
Right.
So
well, it's because all of Blades is completely improvised. So yeah, and it is by mechanics completely improvised, right? So that means that if Abu or Josephine says some small comment, it really can snowball into the whole campaign at a certain point.
Yeah, and that can be intimidating for some GMs and groups. I have to improvise all this stuff, but for people who are comfortable with that, obviously you guys are improvisers, so you're skilled in that way. But I think it's a good sort of model to show people too. Like it's you can kind of let it roll and go with the flow, and you can pick up that thing and play with it later down the road if you want to, and try to make arcs and all this stuff. But also, if you just kind of play scenes, you're going to naturally build towards these sort of dramatic things, and character moments and reversals and betrayals and discoveries and stuff are just kind of naturally come out of it without anyone forcing it, you know.
You mentioned the how you love this aspect of these kind of games in general, that some small innocuous decision that a character makes can develop into a major change in the story far down the road that you wouldn't have seen coming. And I think, yeah, of course, that's one of the beauties of RPGs in general. When I think about game design, I mean, you said you play video games. I love video games. I love board games. I don't know if you're a board game player at all, but I'm just curious as to, you know, how you would define the difference in starting or approaching RPG game design. Like, what elements do you feel like are so important to RPG game design that differentiate it from the kind of mechanics you would see in a video game or a board game?
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap, I would say, in terms of that design framework. But with RPGs, the one thing that distinguishes them in my mind, you can get into definition wars about this stuff, you know. But to me, it's about how the state of the fiction changes to the fictional thing that we're all imagining together has an impact that is felt in the mechanical layer of the game. And then the mechanical layer of the game has an impact that's felt in the fictional part. So if we're playing a pure Euro game, like the gloss on it, the theming of it doesn't matter in that way. It doesn't matter that we're colonists on Mars. What matters is I need my engine set up so I can have my atmosphere processor running. That could be a completely different machine. It could be anything. I could be growing plants.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Over the years, I've seen, as I've gotten to know some more designers or publishers, I would say, I was shocked to find out how many games were themed one entire way. Yeah. And then they just washed that off and tied it to like a big movie property.
Space Base. Wasn't Space Base about the New York City skyline? And then the publisher was like, Space is more popular. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so like like you said, the engine can be used in a lot of different ways.
And in that sense, the theming does matter. It can inspire people to play the game who otherwise wouldn't. I'm not into gardening, but Mars terraforming, that sounds really interesting. I want to play that.
Yeah.
And not to be mean to board games, like sometimes the theming does have a big impact on the mechanics, but it's kind of optional, I would say. You can pick and choose how much you want that to play a part. And in RPG design, I feel like it's less optional. I anyway feel like it's a good goal to have that back and forth fiction mechanic fiction impact thing happening pretty much all the time. So we need to care about imaginary stuff, and the mechanics care about it. And then when the mechanics happen, it's not just you take 8 points of damage. It's that your arm is nearly severed and you're bleeding to death. And that's back into that fictional thing that's on screen. And it doesn't have to be every single part of the game. Sometimes it's good to abstract like hit points or something and not always describe some grisly wound or something. But in general, I think that's a good place to start thinking about how you're designing your game, how the fiction and mechanics work together. And then the key part to me, the starting point is a situation which can be very specific and small, or the setting itself or the campaign frame or whatever, calling that the situation that naturally leads to interesting stories by its nature. And then a character creation process that produces characters that are fit to be in that situation. And so you can't make a character that falls out of the catalyst that's going to drive our play. You can't end character creation with someone who's just like, well, I might as well just stay at the tavern. I don't really care about whatever's going on.
Right.
Yeah. And I've personally run into some situations, I won't mention any games, but I've run into some situations where finishing character creation and then playing for some time, I've been like, I was able to create a character here that is pretty useless mechanically. And that's not just a campaign choice. It's like the way the game is being played, there's obvious imbalance toward certain skills or abilities or whatever. And Blades, I've never felt that 12 action system seems to keep everybody can kind of try everything. And so you're always involved as a character, which is really interesting.
Right. And a lot of it is also, I mean, guiding that character creation process is that excellent character sheet, which I know that, John, you did design the sheet, right? That's all your work. So can you talk a little bit about what makes a great character sheet and kind of your process on that? Like, how long does it take you to perfect that sheet? Because it kind of is perfect, the whole game is right there.
It takes a long time, but I tend to design visually first when I'm embarking on a project because I naturally tend to think that way. I was a graphic designer and art director in my career before game stuff for a long time, and I always tend to think of things visually first. But with RPGs, I feel like that's our tangible interface with what we're doing. The rest is in our imagination and what we're going to be looking at most of the time. And the way we're going to talk to each other about our characters and stuff is that sheet, or whatever on your phone or whatever it is. That's like the UI layer. So if I design it a different way, if I design more abstractly or just in a Word doc or something, ultimately I'm going to have to somehow translate all those ideas into a usable sheet or set of papers or something that have to be used at the table. So I tend to just start there in the first place. When the ideas start coming, I open that InDesign file and start laying out a sheet. And some of those choices get informed by, well, I have room for 9 things. I only have ideas for 6 right now, but there could be 9. There could be 3 sets of 3, or we could do 2 sets of 3, or, well, there could be 12. There could be, and
based on how it fits in the sheet.
Based on how it fits, and just like the natural, like, is this too much information at once? Should it be lighter? Just at a glance, does it look like it's too much?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's definitely a thought that the Pathfinder character sheet people did not have. Is this too much?
Well, the blade
I love
sheet,
Pathfinder, but it looks like you're filing.
Well, you need so much. You
do
so much data.
Yeah, you do. The blade sheet went through iterations, and a lot of iterations after the crowdfunding ended, when it was getting seriously play tested by lots and lots of people. And we did a bunch of kind of A/B stuff. Like, here's the sheet, kind of the one we have now, where it has all the stuff you need. You don't need to look up stuff in the book. All your special abilities are written out for you. All your options in Teamwork are all there. And it's full. The sheet is full. And some people were like, oh my God, this is way too much. My eyes glaze over. So I made another one that was different. It was less stuff, more empty spaces to be filled in by the players. And ultimately the community said, no, it's way better. Much easier for us to use the one that's already filled in. And right before we finished the project and put all the final files out, it just occurred to me, like, well, I might as well have blank ones too. There's no reason not to have those for people who want the blank ones. So
I will say the first time I looked at a blade sheet, I was like, what fuck am I looking at? Because I was like, they were already filled it in.
Yeah.
That was also, to be completely honest, the first time I read the book, I was like, what? Like, because it's just a very different approach to cause and effect, the way it normally goes in a game.
Can I ask about playtesting? Because I think that this is a really interesting aspect that is, if somebody has, passions or hopes to create their own game, they want to create their own game at home. Having a relationship with Paizo over the years, I know how extensive their playtesting process is, and they spend a whole year with this stuff out, for people to opt into playtesting, and then they want thousands and thousands and thousands of results, because only with that many iterations they feel like, will they find the problems, in the system. What was that process like for you with Blades? You mentioned way back when in the early playtesting days, like, how did you find playtesters? How did you consume their feedback, and how did that impact the game?
The initial playtesting grew out of my home groups. There was a period where I was running 3 games a week, roughly.
With different players? Each
players,
Each group is different?
One of those was a Apocalypse World campaign, two of them in a shared world where they were distant from each other geographically, but they were feeling the effects of the same cult and stuff happening. And
oh, cool.
That was really fun. That was 50 sessions each. It was 100 sessions total. And they kept getting closer to each other at certain parts, and then they'd veer away at the last second, not knowing that was the other group. And I knew it was going to happen. So we went to the bar and hung out one night, both groups together. And by the end of that, they had jumped ship. Someone's like, "I'm going to go join their group. My character's going over there," and they like switched up who was on what teams and stuff.
That's so cool.
But those people were really enthusiastic. They're mentioned in the Blades book. They're really important to its development. They're just really engaged, cool people with a lot of gaming experience, and some that had very little gaming experience, which was nice too.
And who are these people? Not like names, but are they friends of yours? Are they just people you knew from work?
Of mine, and people I knew from work. Some people at the office that wanted to play RPGs and kind of were like, "Hey, don't you do that? Will you run D&D for us?" And I was like, "Sure. As far as you know, this is D&D. We don't need to get into it."
That's what I'm going to do. Can I play D&D?
You guys ready for some D&D? Just to sit down with this. Amazing.
But yeah, they were really excited to do it and try new things. And so for about, it was close to 3 years, 2.5-ish. We had two groups going, but one was always weekly. We never missed a week play testing what became that Blades in the Dark. And it started from a very different place. I have a video on my YouTube channel where I talked to Andrew Gillis, the author of Girl by Moonlight, right there behind me. We go through all of the Blades character sheets, starting from the very first one. And the first one, you look at that and go, how is this the same thing at all? Like, it's completely different. And we would play at least once a week, and then I would go home and iterate and change based on what we did, come back with the new sheet, and everyone would sigh and fill out the copy stuff over, and we got a new sheet this time. And we played at our office in this conference room. One of the whiteboards had our playtest notes on it for like years because people assumed it was something to do with the business and they didn't want to erase it. So,
ghost bottle. Okay.
So yeah, it was just this like very fast iterative process of play and redesign until it got to a point that felt like it was solidifying. And that led to the crowdfunding. And then after that, G+ was really popular at the time, and there were thousands of gaming people using it. And I put out that kind of beta kind of thing, feeling like, okay, cool, we're going to do another few months of testing hardcore, like nitty gritty stuff with all these game groups, and we'll tighten every screw and we'll be done. And that took another almost 2 years after that. Of like even more iteration, even more changes and rewriting and tweaking. So I would never do that again. Like it was very indulgent to have that group of people for 3 years that just showed up every week to test something. That's not going to happen again. Yeah. But I always do.
But the playtesting shows in the final product, though, I think.
Yeah, it does. It went through the ringer. That game really got tested hard, and the things that are in there are very intentional because we made those decisions. Through the process, someone would go like, I don't think everyone's going to love this part of it, and we were like, yeah, well, this is what we want. This is it. Some people aren't going to like this, but that's okay.
Yeah. Are you? How to put this? When it went to after the crowdfunding and everything, and now the book is sent to the printer. Like, did you feel at that time? Do you remember? Did you feel like it was done? Like, were you like, this is exactly what I want it to be? Or you feel, if I only had another month, if I only had another 2 months. I wonder what that process felt like right at the end there when it was getting sent off.
It definitely did feel done. Yeah. Which is kind of unusual. I think generally creative projects kind of get abandoned, even when they're finished in quotes. It tends to be because of time or budget or interest or at some point you go, okay, I got to be done with this. But because of that long process, it did feel like, yeah, this is it. The final dot on the I, like, this is what we want it to be. And Sean Nittner was very involved as the developmental editor, and he's run Blades at this point more than I have, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he was also like very steeped and very like engaged with what it is and what we're trying to make it into. And he had that same feeling. He was like, I think we did it. I think we made it.
Yeah.
And
that's great. For those that don't know, Sean Nittner is at Evil Hat. And
shout out to Sean.
Stuff.
Yeah, Sean's amazing.
Creative projects, that is rare for a creative project, because I know like recently, so many creative projects I've had, you're kind of like, you work on it for something like 2 years and then you're like, I can't anymore. This is done. This is done. And then you give it to people and they're like, it's not done. Or at least it's not good yet. You
got to keep working on it. That's great that you had that feeling. I feel like it shows through in the book. I feel like when I read it, I felt like there was a very personal connection between you as the voice of the book and me as a gamer. I felt like it really spoke to GMs that were. I just love the tone of the book is very like, don't do this. This is dumb. Do this. This is going to make this game run a lot smoother. And I'm curious. I feel like a lot of that, it sounded to me like a lot of that tone came out of many years of RPG gaming experience in possibly many game systems, and you finding what just doesn't work at tables and trying to fix it. That's the vibe I got. Is that on at all? Am I in the right ballpark there?
Yeah, definitely. I started out when I was like 10 years old in 1983, and didn't have game books. I had photocopies out of Gamma World and stuff like that, and just had to make it go for this group of people that didn't know anything about how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. My uncles and older cousins played, but they didn't play with me. They were the kind of that first generation of D&D people. So yeah, through that many decades of doing that, and trying to play as many different games as possible. Like once I started to do it semi-professionally, when I moved to Seattle in '93, I met the Wizards of the Coast people, Peter Atkinson and Rob Hainso and those guys. And I just realized like, okay, this is part of the job. Like play as many games as you can, board games, video games, RPGs, get the broadest, look at stuff. And I started keeping account and kept a database of 353 or whatever it is now, like trying to, play every RPG. There was a period where you could do that. And then the indie game scene really exploded. And there was a period where you could play every indie game because there were like, 25. And I had a game group that wanted to do that. We wanted to play 3 sessions of everything and just play and try all this stuff out. And
did that gaming group rotate GMs, or were you always a GM? Okay.
Yep, everybody was a GM pretty much. So we tried to play. I mean, we played a lot of stuff.
That's cool.
And that also helped like see all the ways that it can work. It wasn't finding the way to do it right. It was more like seeing all these paths and different styles and preferences, and you can play. It's like music or anything else. You can like have your own style and your own spin on it and your own vibes. And for Blades, because of its nature of like, here's a situation with this setting that's kind of defined and kind of prescriptive, and then characters that kind of do one thing. They're underworld types they're smugglers or assassins or whatever they are.
Right.
It's sort of a tight thing. It's not just like generic fantasy adventure.
Right.
So when I had that kind of setup that was very specific, I could write to it and be like, okay, I've done this a bunch, and I've done pulp fantasy, I've done generic fantasy, I've done sci-fi, I've done all these different things at the game table. This is a specific thing, and here's some stuff that has worked for me. And these are things that definitely didn't work in this specific way. Instead of trying to like write a book about how to be a GM in general, it was like I was able to write very specifically to that topic.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it comes across in the text, what you were saying, Joe. Like it's kind of me sitting you down and being like, okay, I've been in the trenches, kid.
Right.
Like, listen, you know.
Trust me. Trust me.
Yeah.
What were, you mentioned playing all those indie games or just a lot of games growing up. Like what are some standouts to you that kind of inspire you as even now as you go forward, even after Blades? Like, what do you remember?
I mean, I was really very lucky that one of the very first games I played, Gamma World was the first one. And then Ghostbusters. Greg Kostikian's Ghostbusters.
Amazing.
D6 pool system, really cool. And it still like it Blades draws from that because it is like
D6 pool.
You are Ghostbusters. It's D6 pool. You are Ghostbusters. You go on calls and hunt ghosts. It's very specific. It's not, it just does one thing. And then Greg wrote the Star Wars D6 RPG. And I think that's the first game book I bought with my own money. And I feel so lucky that was the one instead of anything else. Is that the
one that's like this thin? Is this
it's like small.
The West End? Is it the West End
one? Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's the West End one. So I'm dying to play this. It's a little, I was pretty young when it came out, but it's an entire Star Wars game that's like, it's like this thick. It's kind of amazing,
When you play it now, there's going to be stuff that will annoy you. You'll be like, why are we adding up all these numbers? This is dumb. But
right, sure.
What's great about the book is it's not how to simulate blaster fire or how to simulate physics. It's like, this is how you make a Star Wars movie, and it's written that way. It's like you have an opening scene, you cut away to the villains, and you show the villains plotting and like aiming the Death Star at the thing that their characters aren't there to see that. But that's how the movie flows. You go here, you go there.
The players should know. It makes it more rich for the players to know.
Yeah. And there's like dramatic mechanics. The Force in that game is kind of, it's the Force that the Jedi, use for telekinesis and everything, but it's also like drama points, kind of like anyone can put down their Force die and be like, no, I'm going to make the shot. I'm going to do the thing right now because it's the important beat in the story. And the whole book is written as like, it's a good guide for just like screenplay writing, actually, if you're interested in that, but also as a gamer to be introduced to that type of thinking about RPGs very, very early on, before I had done the nitty gritty square by square dungeon crawling, which I turned out to really enjoy. But it started for me with like story, like character. How do we have an interesting opening crawl text that makes everyone really excited I'm going to be the smuggler because we'll use our ship to get all these people off the planet, because that's what the problem is. There's these refugees, we got to help. Oh, cool. I'll be the failed Jedi that like threw away the lightsaber and now he's going to, try to redeem himself. And great. Okay, perfect. So yeah, Star Wars D6 definitely is something that I always think about. They reissued it a few years ago in they just basically reprinted it, and mine was falling apart. So I have it here on my shelf. I got the new ones that I haven't even touched, really. They're like pristine.
Awesome. Yeah, I see it here available. Like, oh, look at that.
I'm getting it.
Just
send me the link.
It's great. It's great.
I like that style, and I think that is something that comes through in Blades in the Dark. When I've taught people Blades in the Dark, there's so many elements of what you're talking about that really help new players to play your game, which is great. The character sheet, the focused setting, the limited sort of character options that seem limited, but then can be expanded upon once you know more about the game. The action pool, it's all right there and all pretty clear. All those things kind of like stack on top of each other too. When I pitch it, I'm always like, the vibe of the session should feel cinematic. It should feel like a 2-hour-ish, cinematic experience, because a lot of the choices and actions that you're making are not defined by, move action, attack action sort of standards. Instead, they're a little ambiguous, a little bit vague, and defined by the player and the GM as a committee, which makes it really fun, and it makes it like you're screenwriting together. So I hear that. I think if that's what you're going for, it's working, because that's how my tables feel.
I'm glad to hear that. I always mention what Vincent Baker said years ago about he on his blog, which I highly recommend. It's called Anyway. If you just look up Vincent Baker blog, you'll find it. All the entries are still there. If you read that blog, it's like a master's degree in tabletop game design, I would say.
Awesome.
It's amazing. But he posted years ago this provocative title of a blog post. It was something like the world's most detailed combat system. Which is, if you know Vincent's games, that's kind of weird for him to say that. That's not his space, really. But I took that post to heart, and it kind of revolves around when you don't have like range bands or specific distances for guns or speed values on your knife versus your broadsword, and etc. But you have players that really care about that stuff, like how long it takes to load a crossbow, or exactly how much reach you don't have when you're using your dagger. For people who don't care, you don't have the numbers, it doesn't matter, you just play. For people who do care, there's a component of the game system that also cares about that, the position and effect in blades, or you can do it a bunch of different ways. But if you have a group that really cares and are gun nuts or sword nuts or whatever, you can have that conversation like, well, actually, you're sitting at a bar, booth, and you're trying to get a blade out from under the table, and it's a long sword here. I've got my dagger on my hip that I can get out faster, and I don't have the reach you do, but you're too slow. And we can have this really detailed conversation down to like make and manufacturer, 45 ACP versus 9mm, or whatever we want to say, and then plug that into a system that says, okay, cool. So it is desperate now because you have a longsword and they have a dirt, or now it is limited effect, or whatever it is. And some people encounter systems like that don't have all those details, and they're like, this is just not very detailed. This system doesn't have a bunch of details for that stuff, which is true on the page. But when you get the type of people who care, they can argue it out down to the tiniest little detail. Right. And sometimes it really matters.
Yeah. There is a shared element, I feel like, in the way that you describe things, that you intimate that the players are involved in running the game, that it's not only the GM's job, that the players can pitch a devil's bargain, that the players can come up with consequences. If the GM is like, how about if you fail this, and they've got a million things in their mind, and the player can be like, how about if I fail this happens? That interaction can feed into a player that wants to get more specific about that kind of stuff. It makes a lot of sense. Can I ask you what... this is just a very general question that I'm curious, and I hope it leads down a road of how all of this works together. These different games that Evil Hat produces and others produce. What is Forged in the Dark? Like if you see that stamped on a book, what exactly is that representing?
It's first and foremost, it is a marketing tool for people who want to signify to buyers that they are part of an ecosystem of like-minded games. Mm-hmm. And that's how people should use it. If you make a game based on Blades in the Dark, you do not have to put Forged in the Dark on it. You don't have to call it that. You don't have to mention Blades at all. It's nice when people, give credit and call out sources and stuff, but you don't have to brand the book that way. It is a branding component. And so going along with that, there's certain expectations in the marketplace when you see that, if you have other Forged in the Dark games on your shelf and you see that logo on a new one, probably you're going to be able to pick it up and play it pretty quickly. It's going to feel familiar, and probably will have action ratings, position and effect, or a version of that. Probably a character playbooks and a group playbook of a team playbook of some kind, potentially. Mm-hmm. Generally, they'll have those features. Not all of them do, which again is totally fine. But some of the more outlier games that do things much more differently, Exile, Emma Acosta's stuff, Crescent Moon, for instance, they don't say Forged in the Dark. Emma's doing their own thing with that stuff and has changed a bunch of stuff. And it's smart to not put that logo on the back, because if you're like, oh, I've played Scum and Villainy and Band of Blades and Blades in the Dark and Girl by Moonlight, and I know how to do this, and you pick up that, you have to learn a new game.
Wait a minute, this is
different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's familiar. There's stuff there that's going to be familiar. But over time, I think that gets sorted out by who chooses to use it and who doesn't, and the expectations it creates. Kind of like Powered by the Apocalypse, having that like marker on the game. I didn't put that on Blades in the Dark. Blades is a distant relative of Powered by the Apocalypse design. There's a lot of stuff that's common. The playbook idea is come from Apocalypse World, and succeeding with a consequence is something that Apocalypse World drives really heavily. And I feel like I could have put that marker on the game, and I credit it in the book as being a descendant of that game. But if I had, people would expect it to be 2d6. You have moves. And not that PBTA games have to do that, but that's kind of the expectation. So that's why Blades doesn't have that.
When you say I chose not to put it on there, is that something that a designer just chooses? Mm-hmm. Or does that designer have to go to you or to Evil Hat and say, can I put this on here?
It's up to them. There are guidelines on the website where we exert as much authority as we can to say, like, hey, fascist assholes, like, don't put this on your garbage and associate it with us. And, that's all we can kind of do there. But, they don't need permission, really.
Oh, interesting.
And the SRD that we have is kind of the bare bones version of the game that people can use. They can use it wholesale if they want. I don't recommend that, copy and pasting text from the SRD, but it's a place to start, and it kind of shows like the skeleton of it. And a lot of the early Forged in the Dark games really leaned on that heavily and are very close to, like, Scum and Villainy is Star Wars Blades in the Dark. Like, it's very, very close to what Blades is mechanically and design wise. But now, like, something like Slug Blaster, Mikey Ham's amazing game. I think it has Forged in the Dark on it. I have it sitting over here somewhere, but I can't remember, but it doesn't have a crew book. It does have character playbooks. It doesn't really have position and effect. It kind of does, but not really. And it strips everything down into a much more simple, basic form, which is really good for that game. But if it does have that marker on it, I don't think that would confuse anyone. You'd be like, oh, I get it. It's still pulls a d6. 6 is good. 4, 5 is middling. 1 to 3 is bad. Like, I understand. I can push myself to do more, to have better, greater effect, and these familiar Forged in the Dark type of things.
When I first heard about Scum and Villainy and then Band of Blades, I just assumed you wrote them all. Then, like, over time, I realized that, like, these were different games. They were designed by different people, and that seems to be the case with the development of Blade 68, which we just had a chance to try out, which I'm really, really, really excited about. Jared ran an amazing one-shot session.
It was great. I watched it. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Man, didn't Jared capture that 60s vibe like so
100%.
Perfectly? 100%. It was so great.
All of you did a great job with that vibe. And Ross also playing Austin Powers, basically. And,
it was so great.
It was great.
Can you tell us a bit about that process. So like, does someone come to you and say, hey, I'm a designer and I think I could make a game in your world 100 years later? Like, or do you have that idea and say, I don't have time to write this, somebody else should write it? Like, how does that develop?
In general, what I try to tell everyone is like the system stuff is open and everyone can use it and you should use it and go nuts. The IP, so to speak, the setting, the characters, places, stuff like that for Blades is not available for use. I just say it's not. And that mostly has to do with like, you know, the TV show development stuff and like other things that get into weird legal areas and less about like you're going to mess up my perfect world. You know, it's not that. It's just easier to kind of have a blanket policy of like, no, you can't use it. But there are exceptions. And some of those came around when Blades was first in development and playtesting. Strash and John Hillel, they basically finished Scum and Villainy right around the time Blades was finished.
Wow.
They started working on it during the crowdfunding. So it was ready to go right away. And it was just Evil Hat being like, okay, where are we going to fit it into our release schedule? Because it's basically done. So we can have, I think that Gen Con, they had both of them out at the same time, maybe. I can't remember, but
cool.
And so some of those people being involved really early on, Jonathan Walton wrote a Leviathan Hunter kind of mini game for Blades, which uses the Blades setting, and you have a Leviathan hunting ship, and he ended up just putting it out for free. It's on the Blades website, but that's a case where like the Blades IP is in use there, and he did it. We're friends, and you know I knew he was going to do that. But with something like Blades 68, that is a case of Tim Dene just being a brilliant, prolific genius who's an amazing graphic artist and game designer, getting excited about this idea. And then he made Deathmatch Island.
Yeah, I love Deathmatch Island so much.
It's so good. And the
graphic design
it's incredible,
unbelievable.
Yeah, one
in
of
Deathmatch
the
Island.
Coolest graphic design objects in the RPG space ever.
Yeah.
Before that, he made Odyssey Aquatica, which is like the Life Aquatic RPG. It's also beautifully designed, and it's based on Paragon system, which is in Agon, the game that Sean and I made. And Deathmatch Island was a Paragon game again. And so by that point, Tim and I had been talking a bunch, and he was like, hey, I made detailed street maps of all of Duskfall, like every single street labeled, every building, every single thing for my table. Do you want to see them? And I was like, of course I do. So he sent them over, and I just zoomed 1,000% into the PDF and saw like everything. And I immediately was like, that's not right. That you can't call it that. That's not the way the setting works. That idea wouldn't exist here. This word doesn't work. So I'm like, Tim, do you want me to have nitpicky feedback? And he's like, yes. So I sent him like 200 changes. And he did all of them and sent it back, and then kind of was like, what if I put this on drive-thru? When that could be cool, right? People might want to use this. And I'm like, yeah, of course. So we worked out a little deal, and he puts a little credit on the thing, licensed by da-da-da-da-da. And then that's been going for a few years now, those street maps on drive-thru.
Yeah, I got those.
They're amazing. They're just
they are amazing. Just because sometimes I didn't want to have to improv everything, right? Like in a neighborhood, and I was like, and then you search for it and you find it, and they're all there. And the detail, I mean, like you said, in a PDF, you just keep zooming right down to a street, and it's crystal clear. It's really incredible. They're
beautiful. I did the Coleridge one, and then that Tim did everything else. But so we had already been talking, and he figured out some things that other people have kind of figured out over the years. But there's some secrets. There's some stuff in my RPGs, especially some of the early free things, that kind of suggest certain things about how the games maybe have something to do with each other, their settings and some of the ideas. And Tim,
like a multiverse. Wait,
yeah,
what is
sort
this?
of, kind of
connecting Blades with Agon, or connecting. All of your games are part of one connected multiverse, like the Stephen King novels are all connected by the Gunslinger.
Yeah, it's sort of like that.
Listeners, viewers, let's figure this out. Let's find all the connections.
Bits and pieces here and there, just for fun, just for me, not meant to be like actually like known or used or discovered, just as a creator being like, hey, that's funny. I'll do that. And Tim, when he started working on Blade 68, sent me some stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, have we talked about this? Did I tell you these ideas? And he's like, no, I can just tell. I can see the pieces. I see how it fits.
He saw the Matrix.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
bunch of ones and zeros when he looks at a copy of Blades in the Dark. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and he already had the initial little play test packet and some of the graphic design done for 68 and the road atlas thing for the city that looks like a gas station map of Dustfall. And he was kind of doing it for fun, I think, initially, maybe just for his home game or whatever. And this was a case where he ultimately was like, I think I want to do this for real. And it was a case of me going, please do this for real. This is amazing. This needs to exist.
So it sounds like Tim is a very special guy with a very special connection to the material, which is a very cool way for something like this to evolve out of your work. That's really amazing.
Yeah. And it's stuff that in Deep Cuts, I move the timeline a little forward slightly. Things are changing in the setting. New stuff is coming around. It's pointing in a certain direction. And Tim is kind of doing it from his side 100 years later. And we didn't really conspire too much, like to sit down and be like, okay, let's make sure this all connects. I would just send him the new draft of Deep Cuts, and he would send me the new draft of Blade 68, and we both would look and go, okay, yep, that works. I see what you're doing there. Okay, I got it. And then I kind of totally screwed him over because there's a thing in Deep Cuts where the Emperor decides that the calendars are being thrown out, and now it's the first year of Unity, and everyone is going to participate in Unity, and the old timeline no longer matters, and it's year one, and there's a lot of like propaganda stuff in Deep Cuts that the Empire's trying to do. And Tim immediately wrote me and was like, my thing is called Blade 68, right? Because I'm using your old numbering system that you've said now is thrown out.
Well, they went back. They went back at some point to the old numbering system. I mean,
so I added a section to that page that's like, basically no one except government bureaucrats cares about this new year system. Everyone else still uses the old years because they think it's stupid. So
amazing.
That's a funny little wrinkle. But I want to move on here and talk about some other stuff. But I one last question, and this will kind of lead us in. You mentioned deciding to narrow down this setting and make it very clear, and so that you could develop a game that is meant to work within this exact sort of area. And so it could be more focused, and everything could sort of help each other out, from the playbooks to the character design to the story, and everything sort of fit together. Like you said, the characters sort of address things as scoundrels. That's really what they are. And I'm curious, honestly, why? With all of the potential settings out there and all of the different games you played, why is Blades, this what I think to be a beautiful, elegant, mechanical game design, why is it a game about crime and criminals?
I'm a big crime genre aficionado in general. Mostly cinema and TV and movies. Like big time, like everything, consuming everything in that space. And also, I have thoughts, political leanings, around the nature of what of criminality and who decides what criminality is, and how oppressive systems create that situation for people, and how most or a lot of crime fiction is really about poverty and scarcity and lack of resources and support, and that's to do with my background and also just like my current state thinking of the way of things, and in researching that stuff and immersing myself in all this crime fiction of various sorts, it just gets into your bones, and I started to think more and more about the nature of RPG play and how so many of our games, regardless of what they were, kind of ultimately were about people that couldn't do otherwise, or chose not to. They didn't fit in to the normal societal system, and that might just be because of unexamined defaults, like you're an adventurer, like it doesn't matter why, you just are. But generally, games are going to put characters in that kind of space where they don't have a lot of options. They're turning to violence, or they're turning to crime. Most RPG groups would be, instantly jailed.
Yes,
sure.
They're all up to no good all the time, for good reasons or not, or whatever. And
well,
so
that's exciting.
Like, this is it's fun to play outsiders and scoundrels and underdogs and stuff. And also it's the active side of things. Heroes tend to be reactive. The trouble alert goes off and they got to deal with the bank robbers or whatever. But the bank robbers are the ones starting the stuff, kicking it off. They're the ones instigating the action. So that can be fun too. And the combination of those two things, like, I felt like I understood that genre in terms of having fun at the game table, and then also an opportunity to kind of have something to say about criminality in society and what that means, and the lenses on that, and maybe creating the possibility for an empathy there if you're embodying that side of things and like starting to see it from that side.
I personally think it's genius the way the faction system is laid out. There's when you're starting out as a tier 0 crew, you're looking at these other tier 1s maybe that you would interact with, or maybe tier 2s, and they're all gangs, right? Everybody's a gang, trying to survive, make their place and whatever. But then as the tiers increase, I just love how the government,
the
city
real
council,
criminal factions come into play.
Well, I just love how they're all statted the same as your tier 0 crew. It's the same thing. It's just bigger, more influence, more power, developed over a long period of time, but they're all the same thing. We're all just gangs. It's all just a bunch of gangs.
Right.
And I think it's just a brilliant way to show players their place in the world. It's really awesome.
You mentioned being a huge crime aficionado, so this is just my nerd out question. Like, what are your standouts in terms of movies, books, TV?
Yeah, what's the best of the best in crime fiction?
The starting point, what I always say, I told Allison we might talk about this, and she immediately said this because she knows what I'm going to say first, which is Thief. Michael Mann's 1981 film, James Caan, an incredible just movie in its own right. It has one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema, two people talking at a diner, and it's just incredible. But it is a tentpole definitive crime film, perfectly executed, and also a story of criminality. This James Caan's character has been in and out of prison his whole life, and he just portrays this character that's so human and relatable and real, and it has I think it's the coolest, one of the coolest heist scenes in movies, where the heist crew, they show up at the place and do the job, and no one says anything to each other. They just look at their watches and they look at the guy and point, and they all do their jobs. They're not like, oh, you should get the thermobaric drill because it's this type of safe. Or no one says a word. They just do it.
They just go to work. Yeah.
It's so professional and cool. And then you see how they're real and human and flawed, and things are not the way they might seem. But yeah, Thief, and Michael Mann has kind of his like trilogy of Heat and Collateral kind of go along with Thief as more explorations of like the people behind the roles of cop or criminal or a killer or whatever. You kind of see the person,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I know that Joe hasn't seen Thief because he hasn't seen anything, but
I just added it. So almost every week, John, on this show, somebody brings up a movie I haven't seen. So I have a literal work task list now that is movies to watch, and it has sub things. So there's a whole list, and I just added Michael Mann's.
We gotta number it. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen Thief. I think I started it one time and I didn't get through it. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but I just got distracted or something. Yeah. So that
Thief is a great place to start. And then alongside that is Le Samurai, the Jean-Pierre Melville French film. Alain Delon is the titular samurai he's like an assassin in 60s France, and it's kind of like Thief. It has that vibe of like there's a guy. He's not a faceless killer. There's like a person, and John Woo's film The Killer is also in that vein. I always recommend that. To Live and Die in L.A. definitely goes hand in hand.
I just watched To Live and Die in L.A. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's about counterfeiters. It's another one of those. William Friedkin, who I love, he is really good at that like subculture film. The Exorcist being one, I guess.
Right.
But To Live and Die in L.A. it has that. Again, it's that crime world. You feel the factions and the world. The underworld and how it's functioning and who's involved. And his film Sorcerer is also wonderful, and it's in that space. It's about these down on their luck losers in Bolivia, I think it is, or Chile.
Right.
And they have to transport like truckloads of nitroglycerin through the jungle.
I got to do that as a Blades smuggler's mission.
Yeah.
It's just totally having to transport volatile electroplasm. Yeah.
I actually made a list because I want to get through those just recommendations. We'll go quick.
Please. This is awesome.
Movies a lot of people haven't seen, because we could get into, there's like the classic, like Crisscross, Out of the Past, The Killers, all the classic noir stuff, which you can easily just search and find.
I love The Killers so much.
The Killers is amazing. Yeah, Burt Lancaster. So movies a lot of people haven't seen. Destroyer from 2018.
Oh, that's the Nicole Kidman film.
Nicole Kidman, yeah.
Yeah.
One of her best performances. Karen Kusama made it. She made Jennifer's Body and The Invitation, which I love. So I kind of watch whatever she makes. And it is just the gritty, like, Nicole Kidman plays just this washed up, burnt out, dirty cop that's just the worst. And we kind of just follow her the whole movie. The camera's like right here, and we follow her through this terrible, terrible day of just it's awful. And her performance is incredible. It reminded me of it, kind of like Bad Lieutenant or something in that vein. It's not as raw and gritty as that, but it's really, really captivating. And Joe Carnahan has a movie called Narc. From 2002, Ray Liotta and Jason Patric, which is kind of similar. I always think of those Destroyer and Narc together because they're kind of portraits of these like really bad people.
Right.
And you kind of feel for them.
Well, that's noir, right? The people are all very flawed. But you kind of have to, I don't know if you root for them, but you definitely sympathize.
Yes, I would say that too. Okay, more things people haven't seen. Generally,
I haven't seen Narc. I need to see Narc.
Narc is great. It's 2002, so it's like, of that time. Everything's handheld. It looks like The Shield. If you've watched The Shield,
yeah, sure.
That's a huge influence on Blades in the Dark. The Shield and Peaky Blinders and The Wire are like the three main shows, probably.
Yeah,
it feels like The Shield, the movie, in a way, kind of.
The Shield is awesome. CCH Pounder, dude.
I know, man. Everyone is so good, and that is a show that has an ending. Like they figured out a way to have this. Okay, it's the Dirty Cop series. How do you end it? What happens to him? Like how can you end that story?
Right.
And the ending is amazing.
Very few shows. This is why I'm a little down on TV shows sometimes. I prefer movies generally. Very few shows stick that landing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's rare.
Their goal is to just exist forever, which nothing really can. You know.
Yeah. They do. Okay. The Unknown Girl, 2016 French film. And
I'm just Googling things while you're listing them.
The Limey.
I know The Limey.
Yeah, Steven Soderbergh. Terrence Stamp is the lead there. Those two go together. If you've seen The Limey, a lot of people have. The Unknown Girl, it's vibes. It's similar. In The Limey, Terrence Stamp's character comes to LA. He's at a prison again. He's trying to find his estranged daughter, and he kind of wanders around the LA underworld, causing problems, and going to places he shouldn't go and talking to people he shouldn't talk to. And The Unknown Girl is this French film is about a doctor who this person in need bangs on their door after closing hours at night, and they don't let him in. And then she finds out that the person died. And so she's just this doctor. She doesn't know, she's not an underworld person, but she just starts to go places and try to find out what happened to this unknown girl. And she should not be where she is. She should not be talking to the people she's talking to. And the sense of tension and dread in that movie is great. It kind of reminded me of The Limey a little bit. Then if neo-noir, I'll run through these real quick. Winter's Bone. A lot of people have seen Winter's Bone.
Right, yeah.
I saw Winter's Bone. What?
Yeah.
I saw one.
Nice.
Joe saw one.
Great neo-noir. Like, she's a hard-boiled detective if there ever was one. Who, again, like, goes to places she shouldn't, talks to people she shouldn't.
That's a Jennifer Lawrence maybe debut for those.
I think that was her first
so.
big thing, and then whatchamacallit is amazing in that. John Hawkes, I remember being like,
amazing.
Like I couldn't turn away. He was so good.
That's where I'm from. I'm from Appalachia, and I'm not from the meth town, but they do a really good job with that setting. And then in that vein too, Blue Ruin.
I love the Blue Ruin.
And Revanche kind of go together in my mind. They're both sort of revenge stories about a guy who needs something done, and the movie starts and you don't know what he's doing. You don't know why he's doing what he's doing. You just have to follow him through this very difficult, violent situation and kind of discover how it goes, which is something I like about the crime genre in general, I think. You can tell those stories where you can have formulaic stuff in that detective vein or the noir type stories, but you can also do like really weird experimental things. The Limey's like that. There's all these like flashbacks.
Right. Yeah.
You don't really know like what the ordering of events is exactly. Like Memento, of course, is in that style, but
kind of like Blades in the Dark in that way.
Kind of,
or when you say like a character that's doing a bunch of things and you don't, the audience, you don't really know why they're doing them. I mean, that's kind of how Blades in the Dark, just the score just starts and you're kind of like, you're standing here. What do you do?
All the players just silently going through the score, pointing at guards.
Three more, and we're done. Mystery Road by Ivan Sen and the sequel Goldstone. It is set in Australia. An Australian Aboriginal sheriff who it's another neo-noir type thing. Like something bad happens in the Aboriginal area, and he's kind of an outsider, even though that's his background. So they kind of send him in like, oh, you can go talk to them. Like, they don't realize that he's like totally an outcast. And
I absolutely goddamn love Australian crime movies, westerns,
The Proposition.
The Proposition was the one I saw recently.
So good. Have you seen Rover?
Good.
The Rover?
I haven't seen Rover.
Guy Pearce. It's an Australian neo-western post-apocalypse movie, but it's not Mad Max style. It's like the first couple minutes you're like, is this just Australia, or like what am I watching here? It's all, everything's dusty and broken down. I think it's an apocalyptic situation, but I'm not sure. It's Robert Pattinson and Guy Pearce, and they're that's dirty and grimy, and The Rover is great. The capstone, the final thing I'll say, because this list could be hundreds of movies long, a great masterpiece, maybe the great masterpiece of crime films, is City of God for me.
Right.
I've seen City of God.
Whoa, Joe.
That's a great one.
I'm so proud of you.
Winter's Bone and City of God. Amazing.
I mean,
City of God has that.
If memory serves, like they're right around the same time. I feel like City of God and Winter's Bone. They're like aughts, like early aughts, right? Mid aughts.
2002, City of God. Yeah. When was Winter's Bone? I don't remember.
I feel like
Winter's Bone's got to be right in that pocket.
It's good, yeah.
It's 2010, so it's a little later.
Is it that late? Oh, wow.
It's a little later. But City of God does that great thing. I mean, I feel like old Cagney gangster movies do this, where it's like you see the children, you see the environment that they're growing up in, you see what they have to do to survive, and so as you see the criminal element kind of come in, you understand, and it's so many of the things that you're talking about with like, what creates criminality and how it's about poverty and all of those things. And in addition to being an absolutely gorgeous to look at movie.
Film.
It is beautiful. And it's one of those pieces where the first time I watched it, especially, I was just asking myself, like, who are these people? How did they find these people? They're actors, but like, it almost seems like a documentary. Like, the characters they feel so real, and they're just like nothing else. And I'm just thinking, what was the casting process for this like? How did they find these people? They're so genuine.
And that adds so much to a crime movie too. Like, I think about The Town, that Ben Affleck directed film. And my favorite thing about that film is that it feels like they got actual Boston locals to play all the small roles, which gives it, it's a box office-y kind of a crime, feature, but getting those like kind of real people to fill in those parts of the environment, it elevates it a little bit. It makes it feel like you're really in that gritty environment. So
yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned The Town. That one, I just rewatched The Town, and I hadn't seen it in years. And thinking about Haunted City, without giving any spoilers to anybody who hasn't watched it yet, like there's a lot of PvP elements that develop, you know what I mean, in the game. One of the most awesome aspects of The Town is the tension within the friend group of like, because you got this wild card that you're just like, I wish you would just not get us all killed with your actions. It's really interesting. The tension feels so real.
Yeah, it's total Valkos. Well, I mean, if nothing else today, Joe, we got like John Harper's top 10.
Oh my God, I got a spectacular list of films.
You got a lot.
Yeah,
to get through. I tried to pare it down. I knew we were going to maybe touch on this, and my list was so long.
I was hoping we'd get this much. That's amazing.
No, we appreciate it. We'll get out the door here. Let me ask you one more question.
I'm being a bad interview subject. I'm backing up, but I intended to mention this because I mentioned Peaky Blinders. Stephen S. Tonight's new show. I haven't seen a lot of buzz about it. Stephen Graham stars. It's called 1,000 Blows, and it's amazing. If you like Peaky Blinders, even if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It is about the 40 Elephants, the all-women street gang, Victorian London street gang.
Holy shit.
Which
in 1880s London.
Yeah, they were real, and they portray them in it really well. They were very famous at the time. And that collision with that year when the Marquis of Queensberry rules of boxing started to be enforced, and so like bare knuckle and pit fights and stuff became illegal, and a way for poorer people to make money was criminalized, and boxing became a sport for the entitled and the rich. And Stephen Graham plays a boxer who is going through that process of like losing his livelihood to being taken away by the rich and powerful, and how he deals with that situation as an extremely violent person.
Joe, it's a couple people from Adolescence, which we've talked about on the show.
That's Stephen Graham, right?
Adolescence, yeah. Graham. Steve, he's up for an Emmy. That's Warp Films made that, which they're the people that are developing the Blades TV show. They made Adolescence, and Stephen Graham is my top pick for Bajo Baz.
Awesome!
Leader of the Lamb Blacks.
Nice.
If that ever comes around, he's perfect. So I love to see him in everything. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
That is
1,000 blows.
No,
I wanted to make
that's
sure
incredible. I'm gonna check it out.
That's awesome. One fun one out the door. I feel like I remember back in the Haunted City days that when you would tune in to watch, when you sent pictures of like charcuterie boards and stuff, then you like sit down and make yourself a plate of cheese.
That was our ritual. Yeah.
What's the best cheese? What are your favorite cheeses?
That's really tough.
I know. As a cheese fan myself, I'd be a deer in headlights at this question.
I definitely, I like to do like a little spectrum generally, like a like raw sheep's milk or cow's milk, like sharp, kind of dry, hard cheese. Have a softer, like Camembert, goat, brie, something there, spreadable kind of situation. And then something Roquefort, blue, funkiness. Try to cover those three bases, and with that in mind, like go into PCC or whatever and being like, okay, there's 16 different kind of blue type things here. We haven't had that one. Let's try that one. Create a new little set.
So all of them is his answer.
Yeah, clearly. And then
I will say I kind of have a current favorite that's not like hoity-toity or anything. I think they're a smaller cheesemaker, but I think you can find them nationally. I cannot think of their name right now. The cheese is called Tennessee Whiskey.
Ooh.
And
I feel like I've seen this.
That's what it tastes like. It's amazing. It's like it's like having whiskey with your cheese, which I generally like to do.
Nice.
So yeah, I can't think of the maker right now, but that's definitely been a favorite the last few times. Did you get Tennessee whiskey? Yeah. I got it. It's good.
Amazing.
Is it Sartori?
Yes, I think that's right.
Vitano?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Everything we've had from them has been good, but yeah, I don't have a favorite really. I do. My favorite is to have that spectrum because I want to.
Yeah.
As I'm eating it, like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Let's mix this. We'll put the fig paste on the blue, and like, what is that? Like,
nice. Well, so you do it up right. You do it up right.
We try.
That's awesome.
It's been a while actually, because charcuterie was our Haunted City like ritual. So I think we've only done it like 2 or 3 times since the show ended.
Well, if we didn't need another reason, I mean, there's another reason to get more Blades.
Throw that on the list
on YouTube premieres. John, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Oh my gosh.
Thank you guys. This was great fun. Yeah,
this was really awesome. So enlightening, and really looking forward to Deep Cuts and Blade 68 and all the other fun stuff.
The Dagger Isles. We didn't get to talk about.
Oh my God, that's on the list too, and like kind of
it's coming out. A whole supplement for the Dagger Isles.
We'll have to have you back on. We'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, when
live.
it's out, we'll talk.
Yeah. And we'll have you back on live and we'll talk Dagger Isles. That sounds like a great sequel to this. So thank you so much for your time. That's going to wrap it up for us today, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Yes.
For a little pre-recorded Glass Cannon Radio.
I hope some people called in anyway and were like, why aren't they answering?
What's the contest question? No, in fact, this is a great time to think about what's your feedback? What do you want to talk about next week? So come with your questions, and we'll talk a little bit more next week as we look back at this awesome hang with John Harper. So thanks again, John. Take it easy, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.